Hi everyone, so this is a very special video for numerous reasons, one of them being I am going to try and speak English in this one. So this is supposed to be a vlog or vlog, however you want to say that, about a trip I took to Scotland in February in order to research for a new novel I would like to write. And I have a few things I would like to touch on, or I feel the need to touch on at the start of this video. So I'm afraid this might be a bit of a lengthy intro. And if you're impatient and you have no time for a lengthy intro, which I can totally understand, you can skip it. You can totally skip it and still enjoy the rest of the video, I'm sure. And I will provide timestamps for your convenience, no worries. For all the rest of you, I'm going to jump into the intro. So let's talk about the English speaking at first, because this is something I wanted to say up front. I would like to apologize for my English in advance. It's not my first language. German is my first language and all my other videos on this channel are in German. And to my German subscribers, don't worry, I will continue to make German videos in the foreseeable future, except for when I'm talking about this specific project here, probably, because I would like to try and make this more accessible, and more accessible for English-speaking people, for reasons that I will get into in a minute. But yeah, apologies in advance, because I know my English is not perfect. I know I have a German accent. I will probably mispronounce things. I will probably make mistakes. So I will do my best, and I just hope it's somewhat bearable to listen to this. So in February of 2025, I traveled to Edinburgh to research for a biographical novel about a Scotswoman that I would like to write. And I've waited quite a bit with posting this video and finishing this video, because I've been going back and forth in my head whether I should post it or not, but yeah. Still not entirely sure it's a good idea, but we're doing it now. And yeah, this is an idea for a novel that I've had in my head for almost 10 years. I can really pinpoint the point in time when this idea first came to me quite accurately, because I used to live and study in Edinburgh for a year in 2015/16. I did my master's degree there at the University of Edinburgh. And during my time there, I quite liked visiting the Museum of Scotland, the National Museum of Scotland. I visited it quite a few times, and one time they had, in January of 2016, they had this tiny little exhibition, like in one small corner, about a woman called Isobel Wylie Hutchison. And I remember very vividly standing there, reading about her, learning about her, seeing pictures and thinking, wow, she had a fascinating life. Someone should write a novel about her. And this idea, as I said, has never left me. So now let's talk about who this woman was. I'm actually going to insert a picture of her. It's not my favorite picture of her, but it's the one that's in the Wikimedia Commons, and I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to show it on YouTube, so that's the one we're going with. So Isobel lived from 1889 to 1982, and she was many things. She was a writer, a poet, she was a self-learned botanist, a painter, and many called her an explorer. Although she herself never felt at ease with that term, she would only call herself a traveler. Because she traveled to many far-off places, mainly in the Northern Hemisphere, like Iceland, Greenland, Alaska, the Aleutian Islands, completely on her own, and at a time when this was quite unusual for a woman, and by all different kinds of means, like by dog sled or on boats of fur traders along the Alaskan coast. And she was all in all a very fascinating woman, very adventurous, very eager to see and explore the world. Also very full of wonder for the beauty of our world. And it seems like she was a very kind, open-minded, optimistic person, someone people naturally took a liking to. So she made friends all over the world, both male and female, from all different kinds of backgrounds. It seems to have been very easy for her to make friends, but she was never married, interestingly. As far as I know, she was never even in a romantic relationship. So she grew up quite privileged, I think you could say. Her father used to be a wealthy wine merchant. However, sadly, he died when Isobel was still a child. And while he left the family's finances well in order, my impression is that the family's fortune dwindled during Isobel's lifetime. And actually, she did not have all the money to just travel at ease to wherever she wanted. She actually financed these journeys herself by holding lectures about past journeys, or by publishing books, publishing poetry or articles on her travel, and also because she always liked to botanize. Like, botany was a hobby of hers from a young age, so she could earn money by collecting plants for botanical gardens or museums or the horticultural society. And that really opened doors for her in numerous ways, not only financial. For example, one of her first very big journeys was to Greenland, but at the time Greenland was a protectorate of Denmark, and they would not grant entry to just anyone. They mainly favored scientists and explorers who were allowed to travel to Greenland. And she was only allowed because she could apply as a private botanist, and she could say, hey, I'm collecting plants so we can all understand plant life of Greenland better, and that's why she actually got permission to travel to Greenland. So I could talk about her for a long time, but that's all I'm going to say just now. Just one little recommendation: if you're curious and you want to learn more about Isobel's life, I can really recommend this wonderful biography called Flowers in the Snow by Gwyneth Hoyle. So then I wanted to explain why I'm doing this in English, and that's because, you know, I've put a lot of thought into the question whether, as a German, I'm allowed to write about Isobel. And actually that's one reason why I've put off writing this book for so long. As I said, the idea first came to me in January of 2016, and all this time I have, a small part of me has always thought someone else will write about her if I only wait long enough. Some part of me has always thought, this idea is so good, I cannot understand why there's not already a novel about her. Someone else will have this idea. But no one else seems to have the idea. No one else has written a book, a novel of her life in all this time. And as I said, this idea, I cannot get rid of it if I don't at least attempt to do it, I think. I've written 8 other novels since I had this idea, almost as if to distract me. And I've published 7 of them. I've also edited and published 2 older novels of me, self-published them. I've finished my master's degree. I've done several different kinds of jobs. I've done a whole new bachelor's degree. I've gotten engaged. So much stuff has happened, but still I want to write this book. So yeah, I've put my concerns somewhat aside because I found many examples of great books where people from one part of the world have written about other people from other parts of the world. So I've put my concerns somewhat aside, but not completely. And I've actually, as I said, I've put a lot of thought into this. I've thought about, is it realistic to have it translated? Can I get Scottish sensitivity readers or something of the sort? Can I try to write this in English in the first place? I won't go into this too much because this video is going to be too long anyway, but because of all these thought processes, I thought I would like to make at least this coverage, these videos and vlogs in English, to make it more accessible. By the way, I know that since I traveled to Scotland in February and filmed the first footage for this video, I know that YouTube has since introduced a new dubbing feature, which is quite cool actually. But I still thought it would be nice to see this to the end and to actually speak English. Still thought that would be nicer. But by the way, if you are new on the channel and you don't speak German, you can actually go back and I think watch pretty much all of my German videos with like an AI voice talking English over me, which is quite cool. So yeah, there's that. And by the way, one last thing I thought I might mention is I'm sharing this novel project at a point in time when it is still at a very early stage, and obviously I don't know what will become of it. I mean, that's just the reality of it. As I said, I've been going back and forth in my head whether I should make a video about it, but I really felt like sharing it with you guys and taking you along on the journey. I mean, I've become quite attached to this YouTube channel and this community, and I thought it would be fun to make this vlog. But I just wanted to say there are many obstacles still to take. I don't know whether this will actually be a novel in a few years. But I also thought, you know, it's okay to post about it early, and if it does not come to life in the end, I can be honest and upfront about it and say, hey, it didn't work out. I mean, we talk a lot about how on social media and on the internet we should not only show the bright parts of our lives and all the successes, we should also talk about our failures. So I don't hope that this project will fail. I just thought, oh well, if it fails in the end, I can be part of this movement and I can be honest about it and share that too, and that is okay. But still, at this point, I have a lot of hope and excitement for the project, and I think we can actually jump into the vlog right now. So as I said, in February I traveled to Edinburgh to research for this novel for a week. I started on February the 23rd when I caught a train, the Eurostar, from my hometown Aachen to London. By the way, I just love the Eurostar. This is not sponsored or anything, obviously, just genuinely it is amazing how fast, easy and comfortable you can travel from my hometown in Germany to the middle of London, London St. Pancras, by train. I've done it numerous times and it's amazing. And if you book in advance, it's not even that expensive. I mean, I just love it. Like, that's climate protection right there. With trains like these, you do not need planes. Anyway, I had planned to actually spend the whole day in London because I was going to meet two of my friends from my time back in Edinburgh there. I met them on the Quidditch team because I used to play Quidditch for the Holyrood Hippogriffs, which is the Edinburgh Quidditch team, during my time there. And obviously they played for the same team, and they are now living in Oxfordshire. And yeah, we met in London, and I was just thrilled to learn that not only were they still a couple, but they had gotten a baby daughter last year. So I was able to not only meet them, but also meet their baby daughter. We met at a place called Chestnut Bakery and had lunch and coffee or matcha tea and did a lot of talking and catching up, and then we just strolled through London, and it was just great to see them again. And in the evening I saw them off at, I think, Paddington Station, where they got a train home, and I made my way to London Euston. And I still had some time to kill because I booked a sleeper train that was supposed to leave at midnight and go to Edinburgh and arrive in Edinburgh in the morning. So I mainly spent the last few hours at the station reading, and then finally at midnight I was able to board the sleeper train. Actually, I was quite worried about that night at the sleeper train because I had never done that before, and because I was trying to save some money, I had not booked one of those cabins or beds, but a simple seat, which you can do and which is cheaper. And it wasn't as bad as I had feared, luckily. I mean, I jerked awake a lot and I didn't sleep that well, but in the end, I reckon that all in all, I had gotten about 6 hours of sleep, which I think under the circumstances is very, very good. So I think I arrived at Edinburgh Waverley Station at 8 o'clock in the morning. And unfortunately, the Airbnb I had booked only had the check-in in the afternoon at I think 3 p.m. and also the library where I wanted to go only opened at 10 a.m. So again, I had to kill some time and had breakfast at the station. Actually, I should probably clarify what I mean by library. So I'm speaking of the National Library of Scotland, which is the main reason why I traveled to Edinburgh in the first place for this research trip, because that library holds all of Isobel's documents and, very important, diaries. But it's a library that does not allow you to borrow stuff and just take it home. And they also, I don't think they are sending stuff to other libraries. They hold everything at the premises, and if you want to read it, you're welcome to, but you have to go there. They are like photocopying services too, but if you want to read a lot of stuff, it makes sense to travel there and to read the items you want to see from the archives at the premises. So that's what I did. So when it was finally time, I left the station and I entered Edinburgh in glorious sunshine. And it was amazing to be back. I had not been back to Edinburgh since I had finished my master's degree in 2016. And I had loved my time there. I had fallen in love with this city and I fell in love with it all over again. And it was so weird to be back because on the one hand, it felt like coming home and so many memories came back to me. But on the other hand, I felt like a complete stranger and like a tourist. And I actually had to use Google Maps to find the National Library of Scotland because I would not have been able to find it with my memory only. So yeah, but I did find it. I was able to complete my registration process, and then I had already ordered some items like diaries I wanted to see beforehand, so they were ready for me to collect at the collection desk, and then I could go into the reading room and just read them and take notes and take a few pictures. And that's what I did for the rest of the day. I think I left a little early, maybe half an hour before closing times, because I was just really tired and exhausted, to be honest. And yeah, I finally made my way to the Airbnb and dropped my stuff there. I just felt like going to bed at this point, actually, but I made myself go out again and buy some groceries because I also needed food. And then after I cooked something, I actually felt like going to bed. But again, I made myself sit down at my laptop and sort through all the material I had seen and all the notes I had taken. So I don't create complete chaos. And then thankfully, finally, I was able to go to bed. So in the next few days, my days became a sort of rhythm. I usually did some exercises in the morning, then I left for the library, spent the whole day at the library, and in the evenings, to be honest, I didn't go out much. I mainly prepared some dinner and I talked on the phone a lot to family and friends. With one exception, because on one of the first nights there, I was able to meet the Holyrood Hippogriffs, meaning the Quidditch team that I used to play for. Quidditch, by the way, is nowadays called quadball, but I haven't gotten used to it because it was still called Quidditch when I used to play. Yeah, I was able to meet the present team, and there were many new people, obviously, but there were 2 people I still knew from way back when I was playing, and they had actually organized this social event where we met to watch old children's TV shows from our childhoods. And yeah, it was just great meeting everyone, seeing everyone. I had a really good time. And now I'll be quiet because I have another little clip for you from Karina from the past to play for you. Hi everyone. It's now the evening of February the 26th, and it's the evening of my third day here in Edinburgh. I have 7 days here in Edinburgh, but I only have 6 days at the library because it's closed on Sundays, which means half of my time that I have at the library during this trip is already over. And since I'm toying with the idea of making a vlog-style video about this all, I thought I should probably sit down and film a little update for you. So these past 3 days, reading through the diaries of Isobel Wylie Hutchison, it's been the most extraordinary, exceptional experience, to be honest. Just reading her handwriting, reading about what she did in her everyday life, about her thoughts, and sometimes feelings, although she doesn't record a lot of feelings. But it's just crazy after thinking about her and about this project for so long, finally being able to sit down and work on it, really work on it. It's been a blast, but there are really two sentiments at war inside of me. Like, on the one hand, it's super exciting in a positive way, but on the other hand, it's just overwhelming. Like, I'm very aware, I have always been very aware that this is a massive project that demands a lot of time and effort that I will put years of my life into if I really want to see this through. And that's one reason why I have put it off for so long. And yeah, being here and seeing just the massive amount of material there is, and yeah, it just reminds me with every line that I read that it is a lot of work and it's a little overwhelming, but yeah, I'm just approaching it one little step at a time. And yeah, just I'm concentrating on her first 30 years of life during this trip. And I began with her very first diaries that she wrote when she was 10, 11, 12 years old. And they were a bit tiring, exhausting to read, because she would write very short notes on what she did every day, like did lessons, played dolls, went for a walk, did lessons, tidied my room, like all these very brief sentences and only 2 or 3 for every day. That's all that she recorded. And as she grew older, her diary entries grew more eloquent, and she wrote more like in full sentences and whole pages for a day, and later on numerous pages for one day. And yeah, I'm very pleased with how well legible her handwriting is. I sampled this beforehand, before the trip, so I knew that it was legible to me, but it's nice to have it confirmed after 3 days reading her diaries. I'm also pleased to say that it is not as exhausting as I was maybe fearing. It is exhausting. Like, it feels like a solid work day, and they are long days that I spend at the library, and I'm reading all day, I'm taking notes, I'm taking pictures as much as I can, because they don't want you to just take pictures of a whole diary. You're not allowed to do that. But yeah, I'm concentrating hard and everything. But it's so exciting that it doesn't feel too much like work. I am still quite tired in the evenings. And thinking about the fact that this is like my vacation, like I took leave from my real work and my real job to do this. And when I'm done with this trip, right on the next day, I have to go back to work, to my real job. So that thought is a bit, yeah, I better don't think about that. I better don't think about that. One more little thing I wanted to say, and that is that I have so much respect for the National Library of Scotland and for the important work that they do. It's quite a big institution with a lot of staff. They have millions of items in their archive, and it's such a wonderful place in there. I already feel right at home. It's now become one of my new favorite places in Edinburgh, and I've never been there. Like, I've had a little peek inside during my time studying here, but I've never really used it. I only used the public library and the university library, of course, and I used to love those too. I was an avid user of the public library, especially. But yeah, the National Library is another different institution. And yeah, as I said, I don't remember quite how many items they have in their archive, but I'm pretty sure the gentleman who performed my registration, who helped me with my registration, said there are millions of items. And you can just go there and say, I want to become a member, and I want to request this and that and this item from the archive that I saw in the online catalog. And then you can go sit in the reading rooms and just read them as long as you want during opening hours. And it doesn't cost you a single penny. And I'm just so full of, I don't know, I think it's just great that the Scottish state is funding this, because it's a really valuable, important work that this library does, and that it's just accessible to the public for free is amazing. Yeah, and all the staff have been so friendly and helpful to me. Everybody, without exception, has been exceptionally friendly and polite and helpful. And yeah, I don't know. I'll stop rambling now, but I guess I just wanted to say thank God for libraries. Thank God for libraries and librarians, because where would we be without them? So that's it. I now have to go and work some more on my laptop, although I really don't feel like it, but I have to answer some emails that I've been putting off to my publisher about like a whole different project. And I have this position. It's a volunteer position as a press spokesperson for a local NGO in my hometown, like a conservation organization. And that is a lot of work too, and I've been putting off like writing some emails for that during the past days because I've been traveling and busy and tired in the evenings, but I'm gonna do that right now. Look what I got! A t-shirt of the National Library of Scotland. They were selling this at a shop at the library, and I thought it was a really nice way to, one, get a new nice t-shirt, and two, support the library. It is now Friday night, and by the way, I listened back to that clip I recorded on Wednesday, and I realized that it was a little bit on the quiet side. So I'm going to try and shout at you a little more in this one. Not really, but yeah. Trying to do better. I'm unfamiliar with this setup because I'm filming on my laptop webcam, which I don't usually do. So yeah, apologies. Anyway, I'm mainly filming this because I have a little book haul for you, and we are on a booktube channel after all. So the library closes a little bit earlier on Fridays and Saturdays, meaning it closes at 5 p.m. instead of 7 p.m. So I had 2 more hours tonight, and I used them to go to one of my favorite places in Edinburgh, which is Armchair Books at Grassmarket. It's a tiny little secondhand bookshop that stocks both general secondhand books, but also some antiquarian books. And it's just amazing. I used to love going there while I was living in Edinburgh. In general, I just adore the secondhand bookshop culture in the UK, because we don't have that in Germany, at least not in my part of Germany, and I'm so sad about it. And I don't know why not, because Germans love reading, but we don't have the same secondhand bookshop culture. We just don't get secondhand bookshops, or only very few, far and in between. So yeah. Love secondhand bookshops, love Armchair Books. It's a great place to find some gems, just to illustrate this, I went into the store thinking, if I find these two specific books, I will take them with me. And I did find them. And it's not a big store. It's really quite a small place. It's just crammed full of books. Granted, I had a third book in mind that I did not find, but still pretty good going. So what are the books? One is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. I've been wanting to read this for so long. In general, I've been wanting to read something by Jeff Vandermeer for so long. I just have this feeling in my gut that I will love his books, that he will be a new favorite author of mine. I just have to get around to read something of his. This is probably his most famous work. It's the beginning of a series called the Southern Reach series. I think for a long time this used to be a trilogy, and he's now bringing out a fourth book, which is something, I want to say a prequel, not quite sure about that. The first one, Annihilation, has been adapted by, I think, by Netflix. And I have actually seen the adaptation some years ago, but I don't want this to deter me from reading the book anymore. I'm really curious to finally read something by him, and I already have a buddy read planned with 2 online friends, maybe more, for the end of March, beginning of April, so this is just perfect. It's speculative fiction. You could also call it science fiction. Many people interpret it as climate fiction too, and as far as I remember from the adaptation, it's about an alien life form that comes to Earth and in a certain area transforms wildlife, animal, plants in a really weird way. And I think they have like closed this area off, like walled it in. But we are following an expedition that is venturing into this area and trying to find out what's going on there. And the movie was really creepy. Well, I'm a chicken when it comes to movies, so other people might not find it as creepy, but I was scared by the movie. Yeah, but I'm really curious to see what the book is like. I've also heard the book is quite different than the adaptation. So, and the second one, I'm also really happy that I found this. It's 1984 by George Orwell. This one does not need an introduction. I have talked in another video about this quite recently in a German video and said that I really need to read this and really want to read it because I have never read it before. And I was planning on reading it this year. So again, this is just a perfect find. Yeah, that's all for now. See you again soon. So on Saturday, I had my very last day at the library, and then on Sunday was my last full day in Scotland, but the library is closed on Sundays. So instead, I caught a bus to Kirkliston, which is a small village just outside of Edinburgh, and it's where Isobel grew up. But see for yourselves. So I am now on the Kirkliston graveyard. Brought some flowers and I'm going to try and find Isobel's grave, which is not going to be too easy, I think. We'll see. So I just found it. Going to put the camera down for a sec. So this is where she rests, she and her younger sister Hilda, who died a few years before her. Yeah, it's really strange to be here and to feel sad and moved. I mean, I don't actually knew her, but I feel like I knew her after reading so much about her, reading her actual diaries, and yeah, it's pretty special to be here. So we are now going to go and find Carlary Castle, which was the family home of the Hutchisons and is now a hotel. And I am not sure how close I will be allowed to get, but I really hope I can get to see it. Yeah, it's gonna be a little walk. See you later. As you can see, I did find it. It's called Carlary Castle. It's not technically a castle, I read online. Aeroplane going over. Instead, it's a building in the baronial style or something of the sort. Still, it's quite impressive, and you can tell that it has been built while the Hutchison family still had a lot of money. So freaking cool to be here and to think that she has been walking right here and she's been going in and out of that building so many times. So cool. That was really cool. I didn't think I would be allowed to enter the premises and approach this closely. However, I did see a sign that said viewing on appointment only, so I didn't dare to go inside. I mean, I can always come back and try to make an appointment. When I had a look at the website, I didn't see any mentions of appointments, and I knew that the rooms would be far too expensive for me to book, so I never planned on going inside. Maybe I will on a future trip. I mean, I'll definitely be back if I continue with this project. However, this was really cool. We are going to continue with this walk, and we're going to try and find the so-called Pepper Wood, which is where Isobel liked to go on walks. She loved going on walks anyway, but this was one of her favorite destinations, which she mentions often in her diaries. And you know, she loved being outside, being in nature, observing nature, and she writes a lot about Pepperwood and how it changes during the seasons. And yeah, I'm excited to see what is still left of Pepperwood. I imagine that it's much smaller than 100 years back when Isobel was young and roaming this region, but we'll see. So I found Pepperwood. and it's a really small gathering of trees in between agricultural fields. I can't help but wonder if this was bigger 100 years ago, and I will have to look into it since this was a really important place for Isobel. I'm now going to save some money, and instead of catching a bus and in the spirit of Isobel, I'm going to walk back to town. According to Google Maps, it's about a 3.5 hour walk. So yeah, should be fun. And then very early on Sunday morning there was nothing left to do but to say goodbye to Scotland and to catch a train back home.